Hello, and welcome to the Big Money Stylist podcast.
I just saw the green button, so I know that we're recording. So I think this might be, what are we on, episode 32?
32.
This is the first time that I've known when we were actually starting. So congratulations to me. It took me 32 episodes in, but I'm here and I know we're recording. I didn't fuck up the intro.
You know what? I'm proud of you because there have been so many times where I start and all of a sudden I hear, oh, I'm like, why are you coughing? Or I hear, I'm like, stop shivering. We're recording.
Always whispering something inappropriate right when we start.
She's like, Ani, I'm like, no, we're recording. How many have we had to restart? Because I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. It's already messed up. We'll just start re-recording.
31.
It's the only one we've actually successfully ever made it into. I'm proud of you, Val.
Thank you.
This is a momentous day. If only today's topic was about growth. It's about profit, so you're actually not terribly far off on what we're talking about today. So,
awesome.
Guys, welcome to the Big Money Stylist podcast. I am Coach Ani, the lead trainer of BMS, and this is Coach Val, of course. You want to say hi?
Oh, hey, guys.
The lead trainer for NBR, and super stoked to be here. We are on episode number 32, which is blowing my mind.
It's crazy.
Holy cow.
I know we say it every week, and they're probably like, oh, my God, if they could start the podcast off with saying something different. But for real, like 32 episodes in, like that's a ton.
I still remember episode 1 where we're sitting here like, we're doing this. So it's been super cool. And so every single week we go over one topic: power, production, profit, and my favorite, protection, always. But today we're going to be talking over profit. Now, you guys have heard us talk about this before, and we've said that most people view profit as money. And because that's like the very first thing that comes to your head. But we've always said that the profit isn't the money. Yes, it's a good like part of it for sure, but that's not all that it is at this point. So, and also be aware, guys, if you want to watch what we look like when we're actually doing, you can go to bigmoneystylistnow.com and you get to see our beautiful tan faces. Tan being the key word. I'm very excited.
I love being tan.
I for once feel like we look like the same skin color. I'm just gonna say it.
I watched back because, like, you know how Danielle's like, oh, promote the podcast, and so I was like, oh, let me take a screenshot, and I couldn't even screenshot because I was laughing so hard at how dark we all look in the picture. Well, like Danielle was like red in between both of us, and then me and you look the same color, and I'm like 100% white, like I'm not mixed with anything.
I'm 100%
and
Puerto
she's
Rican.
Puerto Rican, and we were like the same tone, and I was like, I'm so proud. These are tears of happiness.
You're like, I made it, guys. I changed ethnicities. This is awesome.
I was laughing so hard that I forgot to screenshot the picture of us.
That just makes me happy. I like it. So today we're going to be talking really, you kind of said it, growth. But not probably the growth that everyone thinks or they're used to. So let's kind of start off with like growth for the sake of growing. Like people, like we have like hustled and pushed. Like, yes, the money's been great. Like we've loved having the money. I won't say that we haven't. Like no one wants to be poor. I get it. But there's a difference between wanting to push and grow for the sake of just growth of you as a human and wanting to push for more because you're unhappy and trying to find fulfillment in something else.
Yeah.
So talk about like growth for the sake of like growth.
Well, I feel like so many people in our program too, like we always refer to ourselves as like growth junkies. Once you get like a little taste of it and then you see like, you know, once you do something and you're able to achieve it, then you kind of like become addicted to that.
Yeah.
And it is like really fulfilling, and you do get addicted to that and just like keep pushing yourself like forward, and you just don't want to stay like stagnant anymore. If you're trying to fill a void, I feel like that way is not like as sustainable as far as like growth and like seeing the profit that way, because you're trying to fulfill something and you're doing it kind of in the wrong way. So I think if you're doing it because like I want to grow, I want to be better, I want to like better my life, I want to better other people's lives, like in that way, like there's more longevity in it as opposed to like, well, this isn't good enough, let me just like keep doing it for that.
Absolutely. And one thing that this is something we've dealt with inside of BMS, oh my God, since literally the very beginning, is when women come in and they're like, like I make good money, I have a good clientele, but I just want something more. Mm-hmm. And then they're almost shit on by friends and artists and bosses, whoever, even people inside their family. And they always hear that, well, isn't this enough? Are you not happy? And it's not about those kind of like instances, it's not about being happy or unhappy, but it's just like, hey, I just want something more for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And
there definitely isn't. But I'm sure anyone who's listening to this, they've experienced it. Like people are happy for you and there for you when you're at the same level. But the second you like start to surpass them, and not in like an egotistical way, like, oh, I'm better than you, but when you start wanting more for yourself and you're starting to do more than what the person next to you is doing, then all of a sudden that person isn't happy for you because you kind of like outgrew them, and you'll start getting like kickback and people trying to like pull you back to be where they're at because they're not comfortable with getting it, because they're not willing to put themselves out there to have that growth, to push themselves forward more. And so instead of just being happy and like, good for you, you know, or even like, good for you, but not for me, it's like, no, you're fucking wrong. And then they shit. We've seen it time and time again. We've experienced it ourselves, and we've seen it with so many people in our program, in the BMS program, that people like are trying to like hold you back. Not cool.
And it's amazing, like, because I've experienced that personally, especially
Yeah.
when I started on like my NBR and BMS journey. So many of the girls that I worked with at the time in Missouri were like, she's insane, like, you're crazy. And it's funny, I only heard this, I knew they were like whispering it, but I only heard it after the fact. They were like straight up like admitted, we were like, yeah, we all thought you were insane, you were crazy, you were dropping clients, upping your prices, and now look at what you're doing. I'm like, well, yeah. And the whole thing, I'll be honest, like, my journey and path did kind of start because I wanted more money, because I was like fucking miserable. And like you've said a million times, like, the money's what brings people in.
Yeah.
But that's not what keeps them here and keeps them wanting more, because we are producers. Like, we make great money. We fucking hustle hard. But now our hustling isn't even so much to be like, oh, I need to hustle more to make more money, to make more money. Now we're literally searching for something else. We're searching for just more balance.
Definitely.
But I've even seen like inside warrior, Garrett and I have had these conversations before, that when they start, almost like when you forget like the purpose and the cause, and you make it solely about money, like, they've actually lost money and lost sight of everything that's happening. I feel like when you're making decisions that aren't for the right reason, like, every decision you make is for your family, you know? Every decision I've made has been, it sounds selfish, but about me, because I wanted to
selfish at all.
be fucking happy, you know? And so even inside of that, when you take like your eye off the prize and you focus on something else, I feel like you start making the wrong decisions. And I know we always teach and train, there's no right, there's no wrong, but realistically, like, there's a path you want to head down that is the right path for you. And when you're like so far off it at that point,
Yeah.
you're like, might be on a parallel path, but that shit's going to veer you all the way to the right and take you somewhere you don't even want to be. You just don't realize you're going there yet.
Yep. I feel like it's like a cycle a lot in our industry as well. Like, we love what we're doing, so then we work ourselves like into the ground. And even like us, we teach on this all the time about having balance and all of that. And we do make decent money. We make great money, and we do see the profit that way. But now we're trying to like reel ourselves back in, like, okay, we went so hard, and we love BMS, we love NBR, we love doing hair, we love everything that we're doing. But sometimes, and I know I'm guilty of it, like, I lose sight of my why, and because I'm like working so hard, and I do enjoy the money, I do enjoy like what I'm like working towards. And then what ends up happening is I'll go back right to where I was. It's just in a different area or on a different spectrum. So before, like, I was working all the time just to make like ends meet. And obviously I love doing hair and all of that, but I was missing out on like precious moments with like my family. I was missing soccer games because I was still going, you know, to work on Saturdays. I was exhausted when I got home, so I wasn't like connecting with Ryan as much as I could have been. And then now, like, it's a different scenario, but it's still the same thing. Like, I'm working so hard, I'm doing, you know, clients all day long and BMS at night and all this. And then now I get back to that point of like, I love what I'm doing so much with work, but like my why, which is my family, they start like suffering again. So I have to like constantly like keep myself in check to keep it in balance, so that I'm not giving so much of myself, and then my actual why of why I'm doing this, which is my kids and my husband, is the one suffering for it.
They like fall to second place almost.
And so that's what you have to keep in mind with profit. Like, yes, it's money, and I do love money for the fact of like truthfully, like, it alleviates like stress of like paying bills and all of that. And I don't care so much for like bougie items, but I do like bougie treatment. So I like nice hotels and like a nice restaurant, like a bougie experience.
It's an adventure. Yeah.
So I do like that. So I have grown accustomed to that, and I like that. So that's what I do like to spend money on. But at the core of it, it's spending time with my family. And so if that gets lost, then all of this is for nothing. And that's why I have to keep like checking myself. So I know we like do this podcast a lot, and we say like, you know, the profit, like we go over numbers and all of that, and then having like family time. But know also that like Ani and I, even though we're like teaching this program, we struggle with keeping that balance and having that and reeling ourselves back in. So if like you're a hairstylist and you're working yourself into the ground and you're like, but I love it and all of that, but like the profit has to be worth it for you, and you have to be doing it for the right reasons for you to have longevity longevity with it, because otherwise you just burn out and you're resentful too. Like once I'm doing stuff for too long for the wrong reason, then which money is the wrong reason for me. That's not why my heart is in BMS, and it's not why my heart is in doing hair. I love the transformation. I love helping build confidence. I love giving people like freedom as far as the BMS side. So all of that is why I'm in it, for the people, and then obviously the trickle effect that it has for my family. But if I start doing it for the wrong reasons of like, oh, I made this much money, and if I just did this many more clients, or if I worked this many more hours and I did this and I'm doing the numbers and I get too into that part of it, then I'll end up getting like resentful and my work isn't where it should be. And it has like a negative effect. So I have to like reel myself back in. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I've been focusing on. I was telling my artist that I actually, for the first time in 9 months, took a vacation, and I'm told,
congratulations.
Thank you. And before I left, because it was so hard for me. And I know we kind of like touched base that this was going to happen in previous podcasts, but I ended up going to my artist. I'm like, okay, guys, I've been here for 9 months. Inside of 9 months, I've been here for 36 weeks or 32 weeks, something like that. Inside of those weeks, I've done 46 weeks of pre-training. So that should tell you how much that shit overlaps. I have done 12 intensives, 3 BMS boot camps, 2 BMS cons. I've dealt with 777 students. I have done, it was like 400 some crazy hours of like live events, not including the live training, not including the podcast, like just being at live events. I'm like, and I've had 0 time off. I'm fucking tired.
Yeah.
I'm just tired. And I came to that point where I was like, I need space. I need to take a break. I just need to get away and put everything down. And that for me was insanely hard, to the point where, because we have private networks, and inside of that we have 2 apps that go with it. One is like the actual chat for our system, and the other one is like a chat, or is one is like the actual like group for our system, and then the other one's like a chat app for it. And so I actually had to go through and delete them off my phone. And I thought I was going to throw up. And even then I would but I realized like I would pick up my phone, and the first thing I wanted to do was like jump back into the network to be like, okay, is everything okay? What's going on? Like, that was like super hard for me. And even in that, I told nobody where I was going. I would just touch base with a couple people being like, just so you know, I'm safe and I'm alive and I'm good to go. But like literally to this day, like no one except like my parents know where I went. So I've just been like super like dead quiet about it. But I took space to just kind of get clear. And I feel like that's something so important. Like when you're looking to grow, because I've always said like, I feel like when I started my whole journey with like NBR and BMS, when I started with NBR, I'm like, I want more money. I'm fucking struggling. I was struggling as a stylist, working 1 million hours a days and weeks and clients, doing fucking everything. It was so hard. And I came into this for the money, and NBR showed me that new possibility. And then once I got into NBR, like BMS went through and showed me a new possibility that I never even knew existed. And that's how I feel like every time like I hit a new stage, a new level of me, like I've grown. We always say the previous version of you dies, like that person is dead, and you're then born to become something else. And every time I become that new person, I'm like, well, what does this new version of me actually want? Like, what is she happy with? What is she not happy with? What are the non-negotiables again? Like, where is it that you truly want to go? And I almost have to like rethink and relook at my path, which not that I hadn't done since I came here, but you know, it's been a mass fury of events where there's been literally no downtime period.
Yeah.
There hasn't been time for it. But even for me, like you said, like you have to reel yourself in. I'm in the reel myself in phase. Like, okay, what I've been doing for 9 months, I can fucking hustle and grind like no one. Like you and I both can. And that's just been proven time and time again. But I'm like, I'm heading down the path of burning out because I'm so exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
Like I don't sleep a lot. I wake up 2-3 times during the night, and I go to bed super late. I wake up really early. I was there at headquarters Saturdays and Sundays. Like I was literally working 7 days a week.
Yep.
And I was just fucking not drowning, but it was not my best, wasn't best Ani going forward. So,
yeah.
And like with that, I think it's
important that we constantly recheck and reevaluate. So like a couple weeks ago, we were talking about like boundaries, and I was saying like, as you grow and change and evolve, your boundaries also have to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in every aspect that we go over, whether it's power, profit, production, protection, like all of that, we always need to constantly be evaluating like what we're doing and what's currently working. And when it's not working, don't be afraid to like shift and jig it so that it is currently working. Like you don't have to wait until you're in a state of like, I can't do one more day like this. Like the goal is to not get to that point. The goal is to like reel yourself in and keep the balance prior to getting to that. But I think the very first time it takes you to get to that point, I know like I've had that point.
Yeah.
And you're currently there where you get to that point and you're like, I can't do this anymore. Something has to change. And like it's when you're on the verge of like a major meltdown
Yeah.
that you reel it back in. And then now, like, I'll start to see myself go in that direction. Then, like, I'm quicker to, like, course correct. But you have to do it in all aspects. And I think, like, if anything, I'd want this podcast to serve as a reminder to stylists or anyone in the business. Like, when something's not working, like, you have the power to change it. Like, evaluate what is not working and what can you do to fix it, because you are in control of your life and you're the one who could, like, change that. So if you got too money hungry and you just kept taking on more clients and that's killing you and killing your family time, change that. If it's, you know, you're burning yourself out and you're not taking any time for you to recharge, change that, whatever it is, so that your hard work, that you are seeing a profit that makes it worth it. If it's not worth it, then you're doing it all for nothing, you know? And so for me, if at the end of the day, like, I'm getting paid all this money, but I'm not seeing my family and not spending any time to, like, enjoy moments with them, it's all for literally nothing. And I refuse.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be. Like, I love what I do. I love what I do with BMS. I love what I do in the salon. And I want it to matter and to mean something to them. But it also has to mean something to me and my family as well. And so that's why I'm constantly having to, like, do like checks and balances. Like, how's everything going? And when it's not working, I'll change it. And I'm getting faster and faster at changing and course correcting so that my day-to-day life, I feel that balance. Not just like, okay, I know we don't have events in July and we don't have events in December. See the family then. See, like, that those are the 2 months you're going to see Val be sane. Like, I can't roll like that anymore. I know when you're building shit and there's different, like, phases when, like, businesses are growing, and there's, like, time where you just, like, grind and hustle and there isn't as much balance. So I do get that, but, like, it just isn't sustainable, you know? So you have to, you have to figure out where your sweet spot is. And the faster you get at, like, keeping it somewhat in that sweet spot, the more better days you'll have than your burnout days. And when you have that, you can fucking grow so much longer than, like, when you're just, like, grinding hardcore 24/7.
And I feel like that's the spot I'm at right now, is trying to find my, like, reel back mode. Because even, like, and I've said this before, it's harder for the single people because there's no, like, not that there's no reason to go home. It sounds like very dark and dramatic, but we don't have kids or husbands or wives or whatever it is. So it's a little harder for us to, at least for me, to be like, oh, I should just go home.
Yeah.
And so I noticed this yesterday where I was at headquarters starting at 7:30 in the morning. And I think at this point it was like 6 some. It was past 6 and I was still there. Like, I had not left. Even like, I even had Morgan go out and grab lunch and bring it back. It was Taco Tuesday. It was delightful. But I had her, like, bring it.
Hey, Morgan, next Taco Tuesday, stop and drop some off at DKW Styling. I'm there all day.
It was really
I love
good.
carnitas tacos with cilantro and tomato.
I got you.
A side of limes.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm not going to lie. How about when I went through to open up the salsa, my fingers hit it and I spilled it all over one of our tables. And Morgan looked at me. She goes, you know, I clean up after a 2-year-old at home. I don't need to clean up after you too. And I'm like, oh, you're starky and funny.
Burn.
I like it. Thank you. But even then, like, I had her bring lunch and she left at 4 o'clock to go pick up her daughter. And I'm sitting there hours later. I had just finished writing a whole bunch of new stuff for BMS Intensive. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, now work on this. But then I'm like, oh, you're kind of hungry. Maybe just, like, order some food and finish this off. Then I'm like, no, that's so fucked up. I have been here already for almost 12 hours.
Yeah.
A lot of shit got accomplished today. I had a meeting as well. Like, so much happened. I'm like, why do you at this point, it's 6:30, getting close to 7. Why at this point are you not allowed to go home and eat dinner? Like, why can this not be calling it, like, the day is done.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I was like, no, you're done. You're going to go home. I had dinner and pasta, and it was delicious, and I was super happy, and watched a movie, and I had some popcorn. It was a really nice night, actually. So I just, like, hung out and completely, like, just, like, recharged a little bit, because I'm just trying to find like, my place and, like, where does this new version of me want to actually grow? And I think, like, when we talk about, like, growing for the sake of growth and then growing for looking for something else, everybody has a hole inside of them. Like, it just is. Not to be, like, so dark and, like, dramatic about it, but it's true. Like,
Dark Ani in the house.
Heartless Ani in the house. Just kidding. Kind of. So, but everyone has, like, something they're trying to fill. Like, you, it just happens, like, your heart, like, the hole that you have is just filled with love and your kids and your husband. Like, that's what fills you up. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But I feel like a lot of times, like, artists or really anyone inside the business world, they're like, oh, well, if I get more money, it'll fix it. If I get more money, it'll fix it. If I work harder, if I do more, work more, make more money, bring more in, it will fix that. And then, like we always say, they come to realize, like, that doesn't help. So if you're already producing and you're working a fuck ton and you're still unhappy, you need to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Why are you still so unhappy? If you're working all the time and you think you're living your purpose and you're doing all this shit and you're still miserable, you need to look inward and really figure out why it is you're still so freaking unhappy all the time.
Yeah.
Because at that point, maybe you're not actually living your purpose and you think that you are, or you've just kind of, like, swayed like or gone a little bit off the road from what you should actually be doing.
Yeah.
And that's why with BMS, like I still love BMS. I'm still super happy, but I'm like, okay, I'm not as happy as I could be. And I know it because there's just too much now.
Yeah.
So I've been in the, okay, what do I need to reel in? What do I need to pass off to Morgan? What do I need to pass off to our teams? Just kidding. There's no one else to pass it off to. It's just me and you. Got it. Okay. So then what do I need to like systematize and rearrange? Like what needs to happen to know that like I don't lose my shit again?
Yeah.
And then even inside of that, now I feel like I'm like super reevaluating like myself, even like as a human.
Oh, totally.
I well, first off, found out I'm bougie about really not a lot of things. Paper is one. For my journey of self-discovery, I bought a new journal and I hated the paper in it so much. I wrote like 5 pages worth of stuff and then I was like, I can never use you again. And I went and bought a different one.
Oh, paper.
Paper.
I'm going to have to say this is the first that I've heard that. So congratulations. I feel like I've heard a lot, but that I have not heard. So
I would when you listen to this, guys, if you agree with me, go to my Instagram. It's ani.dkw styling. Send me a message and let me know that you're bougie about paper too, because some paper is really nice to write on. Some is too like slick. Some just feels weird. I don't really like it with a lot of lines. And if so, it can't be too spaced. I'm fucking weird about paper.
I thought when you journal and stuff, you don't ever use lined paper.
This one had lines.
Well, I mean, that should have been your dead giveaway. You don't journal with lines.
Well, I didn't know.
That is below you.
Thank you. I'm glad you understand. So I ended up getting another one, which also had lines, but these were just spaced like a little better for my writing. So I was happier with it. So I kind of went with it. But even then, like I was like journaling on my little journey of self-discovery, which I make a joke about it, but I really feel that's what it was, just to kind of figure out like, okay, where are you at now? Because we always say like, things move so quickly here. We're always in a time warp. And I feel like sometimes don't even realize how much you've grown until you stop to like, you just literally stop and just take a minute to like reflect and be grateful and look at things and be like super appreciative of everything that's happened.
Yep.
And I feel like I know I've been back for 3 days now, but I really feel like I'm not. I still feel like I'm still like trying to figure that part of me out. Like who actually am I now? This version of me that I know after BMS Con 2, like who I was before that is fucking dead and I became someone completely new. So I'm like, okay, what does this version look like now? Like what does she want? Where does she want to go? Like where does she see like BMS going? Like I'm just trying to figure like everything out, but in like a really like good way, not negative, like fuck everything, I'm so unhappy. Right. No, I fucking love this. I'm just trying to figure out like me. Because I help everyone so much, but sometimes I'm like, can someone want to coach me for a minute? Coach Ani needs a coach for a day, guys. That'd be nice. So, and I think something that's people really need to look as well is when you're looking at growth in general, who you surround yourself with is huge.
Definitely.
Like that can be instrumental or detrimental to you. Because I know, like, you and I, we've always said, like, we had, like, immediately had such a connection. And we just, even when I didn't live in the state and we were still working together inside BMS, it was a constant, like, I felt like it was like a flow. Like,
definitely. And we're always, like, we grow at kind of the same pace, different areas, obviously, but like we're growing because we're working within the same company. We have like the same like values and we have like the same like end goals. I feel like we're like our next step, like, okay, here's where we're headed. And we always are like on the same page with that. So like being around you and other like team members, I like it because it keeps me like on track and inspired and all of that. It's funny when you go back to people like you haven't seen in a while, you know, and then you're like hanging out and talking and you're just like, oh my God, I have nothing to talk to you about anymore. Like, and not like, oh, I grew past you and I'm better than you, but just like there's so much that we don't have as common ground anymore. And that's sometimes when I take a step back because I feel like you said, we're in a time warp and we're doing and growing so fast here, we don't even like realize it. And then there's those moments where you stop and you look at your life and you're like, wow, we've grown a lot. But then there's those moments where you're with like people that you haven't seen in a while and you see how much further you've grown and you're like, oh, wow, those are like super surreal moments to me. And I'm like, whoa, I really am. Because I didn't used to understand when Garrett would say that version of you dies. And now you're like this new person that's like been reborn. And I'm like, that's so dramatic.
You're like, I'm
and then sometimes I'm like, oh, yeah, that person does not exist anymore. I get it.
Oh, definitely. Even one of the Warriors, he's one of the younger ones. He's 19 years old and he's from Utah. And at 19, like, you're a baby. You're so young. At least, I don't know, we're rolling up on, well, you're past 30 and I'm rolling up soon. So I'm like, well,
I'm turning 25 tomorrow. Thank you.
but if it says teen in it, I'm like, oh shit, you're so little. Which whatever, it's fine. But him and I was sat and we talked once, and he told me that because he lives here in California, like his dad is a warrior, he works for Wake Up Warrior, like it's still a time warp, and he went back to Utah to hang out with his other like teenager friends. He's like, I could not be there. The whole time I was thinking like, God, I just want to leave. Is this what you guys like do all the time? Like you just sit here, get drunk, do drugs. Like this is literally, oh shit, this is like literally your normal life. Oh, okay, cool. And he's like, and in that moment I was like, oh my God, like I'm someone completely different.
Yep.
I've grown so much. He's like, it's like you said, I have nothing in common with these people anymore.
Yep. And
it's so crazy to see that, especially when they were your friends at one point, but it's just so you're like, what do we even talk about?
Yep.
Garrett had told us once, he told Val and I once, he sat us down, I don't know if you remember this, and he said, Ani, name the people you're closest to in life. Who do you talk to on a daily basis? I'm like, well, my parents. I talk to Val, you and Danielle. I'm like, kind of Stacy, but not really. It was like a hard time for me to name people I actually spoke to. Oh, I was engaged at the time, so him too, I guess. But
that's one less now.
That's dark. And then he even told Val, he's like, Val, who do you talk to? She's like, well, my husband and my kids, Danielle, Ani. He's like, do you have any friends that are not inside DKW or family? She's like, no. Turns out, as a human being, there have been studies done, you can only keep 8 relationships in your life, like 8 legitimate relationships where you like love and care, you talk to, you keep track of. I'm sitting there, I'm like, no, I keep track of way more people. Oh my God, no, I don't.
I know. It was a depressing thought. I was like, oh,
it's so crazy to me. I feel like I've never actually realized that that's something that happens, but it's true. And then I feel like the more that you like hustle and you grow, not that your time is more taken, but it kind of is.
I just feel like it's more intentional too. Like
yes.
I will not I'm so intentional with my time, and I do not operate out of guilt. And I see so many people doing that, and I don't know why I don't, but I won't be like, oh, you're having a baby shower. I really need to come to that. Like, no, I have one day off of work. I'm for sure hanging out with my family. I'll mail you your gift. Like, best of luck to you. But like, I won't go to, like, you cannot guilt me into like going to a dinner, a birthday party, you cannot guilt me into shit. Like, when I have my extra time, I will spend it where I damn well please and have no guilt, like not one guilty thought about it, like none.
Do you know what I love that I've learned from you? Actually, I don't know if you've realized this yet, but I noticed it because Jill was like, fucking you and Val, man, both of you. I was like, uh-oh. But she one time was like, this was like a Wednesday. She's like, Ani, this weekend, do you want to go do this? And I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun, but I can't commit to that this early. So how about, can I just like tell you maybe the day of night before? She goes, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Val. I was like, I mean, that is the one biggest thing I learned from you. I always felt like when people were like, do you want to do this? Yes or no? I had to be like, yes, I want to, or no, I don't. Now I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I cannot commit to this right now. It sounds like a ton of fun. There's a solid chance I'm going to do it. But if I'm not like 100% in, like, oh, for sure we're going there doing that, whatever, I will commit to nothing.
And everyone knows, like, if you know me, I am the biggest flake in the world. Like, and if I say yes, like, we're all laughing. Like, I'm like, yeah, because in the moment, I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. But we all know, like, if in that moment and the situation has arisen and I don't want to do it, I will have no problem. And I won't make up a lie or anything. I'll be like, I'm not going. And then it's all that awkward, and they're like, well, why not? Yeah, I don't want to go anymore. I'm like, it's just, that's it. Like,
but I love that level of like clarity and just honesty of there's no reason to lie. I'm not going to lie and be like, oh, sorry. No, it turns out
no, I just
literally just do not want to go.
But I am honest now where I'll say, I want to be invited, but I'm just going to always like decline. So like, I love that like the whole salon's hanging out Friday after work, and like, just like invite me and know that I'm going to say no. So like, you don't have to invite me with the intention of like, shit, is she going to really come? Because I'm not. We all know I'm not going to come. But then I feel included. So everybody wins. So Val, we're going out to dinner Friday night after work. You want to come? Oh, that sounds like fun. Nope. See you later.
Turns out I really don't. I'm not going to go at all. Well, even for 4th of July, when everyone's like, Val, it's going to be so fun. Everyone's going. I go, Val's not going. They're like, Val's not going. I'm like, am I the only one that knows her? Fuck no, she's not
sure
going.
Won't be there.
I'm like, why does no one understand this? But I think that also comes from being just super crystal clear on your why and your purpose.
Yeah.
Because so many people will be guilted into so many different things. And I feel like I super learned that from you. Like, I always like had it in me, but I was always kind of like, I call it like a social obligation. Like sometimes you like socially have to do things. And then seeing you be like, nope. I'm like, You're right. But
and isn't it funny? Like, I never feel uncomfortable, and I'm always like, I feel bad for the person on the receiving end of it, and they feel uncomfortable. I'm like, you don't need to feel uncomfortable. I'm just saying no. Like, why is this awkward for you?
You ask a question, you know one of the answers could be no. You need to be prepared for all questions, or you need to be prepared for all answers, and that's what it is. And we always say, like, when artists, like, when clients apply to come sit in our chair, and the last question in the application is, are you ready, this and that, da-da-da, it's yes or no. If they say no, it's not like, well, I hate you, you're a piece of shit. It's like, cool, you said no.
Yeah.
All right, well, no, that's great. So, golden,
Right.
yes, okay. I love that kind of stuff, though. But you also do, like, very awkward moments, so...
I think it's just because I have clarity. That's all.
That's what we're going with now? Val has so much clarity. She likes making like life awkward for literally everybody else. But it's cool, guys. Don't worry.
I'm just so socially awkward. Like, there's no like smooth part of me. So I'm just like, that's what I'm used to. So then when other people are experiencing awkwardness for the first time, I'm like, oh, they're very uncomfortable. They'll get used to this feeling.
That's a funny one. Yeah, no, I feel like at this point, none of us really care. And not that I say things to purposely make people feel awkward, but it's honestly just hilarious at this point. But I really feel like everyone should pay attention to what you said. She has no guilt on saying no, guys, because it's not that she's really saying no to people or no to experiences or no to friends. She's just saying yes to her husband and kids. So if you feel guilty, you're like, oh God, I can't take this client on Saturday. Like, that's cool. You can say yes to your client, but then you're saying no to yourself and to your family. Or you could say no to your clients and say yes to your family, and that's what it comes to.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a family, it's not an excuse, because I don't have a husband or kids either, but I'm learning now to say yes to me. Like, no, I will not work from 7 a.m. until 10:30 p.m. again. No, I will not stay up until 2 a.m. now doing all this crazy shit. Like, no.
Right.
I deserve to have a life too. And
it's so true. And I feel like because as artists, we love what we do so much that we give so much, but we can't give the best versions of ourselves if we're not taking the time to like fill ourselves back up. So that's why you have to like constantly be reevaluating where you're at. Even this past Monday, we've been doing like a salon renovation, and we all had clients booked on Monday, but they needed one extra day to like finish everything. So we had to like all of us move our clients. So no one worked Monday. I know you still went into BMS and worked.
Yes, I did.
I was going to, and then I was like, I'm not. It's now the middle of summer, and my kids have gone to school. No matter what, my kids go to school 5 days a week, whether it's Christmas time, whether it's summer, whether it's Easter, like no matter what, they're at school 5 days a week, and we're in the middle of summer, and I've not had a day off with them during like the week. So I was like, I'm actually going to take this day like and hang out with them.
Yes.
And that to me was like such profit. Like, I didn't make any money that day, and that didn't matter to me because I got to sleep in with the kids. I got to make them breakfast. We moved at a slow pace. We read books. We played games. We did crafts. We went to the pool. Like, we just had such like a normal day, and I was like, this is profit to me. This, like, these moments. Like, and it doesn't have to be every single day. I'm not like crying and saying, I need to be a stay-at-home mom. I can never work again. But it was just like, this was a moment like I had a choice. I could go into the BMS office and give more of me, or I could take this time to like be with my kids and do that and recharge. And I know Kenzie, she didn't work that day. Jill didn't work that day. Like, you're the only one, sorry, that actually went into work.
Oh my God.
But you just came off your vacation, so like we'll say there's some balance. But like, and I was talking to Kenzie about it, and she was like, it was amazing. Like, all of us yesterday had the best day at the salon because we had like that extra day to like recharge. And none of us made money yesterday, and none of us gave two shits because like the profit was in recharging ourselves, and it looked different for every single stylist at the salon. Ian and Lo, they literally slept the entire day. Like,
Oh
I
my
think
God.
Ian did his live, and he was like, it was like 4:30 or 5, and he was like waking up, and they were going like. So it looks different for everyone, whatever you have to do.
Shit.
Yeah.
Morgan, I'm sorry. I made you work on Monday. We were the only two that didn't get the day off.
But for us, like that was another way of profit, which sounds so like ass backwards. Like, we didn't make money, but like we all like refilled ourselves. And then yesterday was just like such a fun day at the salon. And that's, I just keep getting these confirmations of like, this is the right path. I got it like so crystal clear at convention of like what we were teaching. I was not living. I had like fallen off track hardcore. And I was like, I got it so crystal clear. Like, you were the only one who could like fix this, reset your boundaries, figure out what it is that you want, still plow forward and like grow, but still have some balance and like not be resentful of anything. And I'm like on this journey right now, and I feel like I'm growing even faster currently because I am having like these constant little checkpoints of like where I'm getting refilled instead of like waiting 6 months before I like lose my shit. So
And that's, I feel like, where I'm at now is being like, okay. And I've always said before that the universe, I truly believe, is like, gives you little like hints to be like, you're on the right path. You're on the right path. And I feel like I'm still getting that, like, hey, this thing that you thought or whatever that you journaled or whatever you changed that you're doing, yes. Like, you're same, like I'm hitting like little pieces to be like, everything's going to work. Like, this is going great. This is going great. You're right. You fucking got it. And that at the end is just what keeps pushing me forward to be like, okay, here we go. We're doing this. So here's what I encourage you guys to do, because we're coming to the end of the podcast, unfortunately. Take a look at your life and really like ask yourself, have you been growing and pushing and hustling for the sake of growth of you as a human because this is something you want? Or are you just trying to search for something else? Are you searching for the money and looking for the fame and the celebrity of it because you think that's what will make you happy? Or is that truly what you want? Because at the end of the day, if you have a hole inside of you, because everybody does, and you're trying to fill it with something that isn't actually sustainable, it's not actually what you want, you're never going to be full again. So you really need to take a look at your life and say, at the end of the day, what is truly going to make me happy? So thank you once again for joining us on the Big Money Stylist Podcast, episode number 32. Look at us. And we will be back next week, all three of us, and we'll see you guys then.